Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here on what is indeed another magnificent Monday as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. We focus on our youth, International Youth Day. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's always a true honor and a distinct pleasure to be able to highlight and focus on our youth. And as we celebrate today, International Youth Day, I'm honored to have from the Department of Children and Family Services, Social Work Manager, Ms. Christine Miller, sort of leading the panel today. And as I look around the table, I'm thinking, hear ye, all gathered and assembled. But Ms. Christine, it is remarkable that in this particular time of our lives that we have so many wonderful young people. Whether we drive around the country, we see their faces plastered on the billboards, whether we go attend graduations, whether sometimes it's just the athletic and other competitions that they attend, not just to represent us as ambassadors, but specifically for us to see them and know, hey, that's our children, our neighbors' children, our co-workers' children, someone we can be reminded that was us at one time.
That's true.
All right. But good afternoon to you, Mom, and thank you so much for helping us to celebrate our youth.
Thank you so much, Sterling, for having us yet again. Today we come as a team, as a department, quite excited about International Youth Day. I have not heard if this has been recognized before, so I am taking the approach that we are now putting this on the agenda for the Cayman Islands, that moving forward, we certainly intend to recognize International Youth Day. This, in 1999, was first recognized by the United Nations. On the 12th of August was the first designated International Youth Day by the United Nations General Assembly. The purpose of the day is not only to draw awareness to a given set of cultural and legal issues surrounding youth. It also highlights the role of young women and men as essential partners in change and creates an opportunity to raise awareness of challenges and problems facing the world's youth. It also aims to promote ways to engage them in becoming more actively involved in making positive contributions to their communities. The first International Youth Day was observed on the 12th of August 2000. And every year since then, they have had various themes. Each year they have a theme that they focus on. This year, the theme is Transforming Education. I am pleased to say that I have some of the social workers who are part of the team, as well as community development worker, Ms. Delmira Kirschman-Bodden, Ms. Pat Hanlon, Ms. Shireen Barnes, and we're blessed today with the presence of two of our youth ambassadors, Mr. Jarrell Belafonte and Ms. Chantel Young. I'm pleased to have them. So we'll be hearing some of their views and their experiences about transforming education.
Thanks very much. I think it's important that, as you shared, and we would like very much to invite the public to call in, especially our youth now. It is the summer, and it's important that we embrace all that the sun has to offer, but sometimes the SUN is not as important as the SON, right, Miss Christine?
That's right.
And we would like, for those listening, parents in particular, to share with us. Yes, Delmira, from the perspective, I could always easily mistake you for being one of the youth ambassadors as well.
Well, thank you very much.
When we see, though, as whether social workers or community officers or even those who volunteer with the youth groups or assist with some sports program, sometimes come in the schools and they need an extra pair of hands to chaperone, or it's the end of the year and they're celebrating. We see not just the energy and enthusiasm of our young people. And I'll ask you guys a second specifically. Thinking back to maybe that first year of school under your belt, whether that's primary one, I'm not sure what they call it anymore these days, or you just graduated, university. There's always that youthfulness, that optimism, that opportunity that presents itself. But somewhere along that line, there are ebbs and flows. People are encouraged. Sometimes they become a little bit discouraged because of things. Your jobs, keep them motivated.
Yes, our job is to keep them motivated. Community development, with the mandate and the responsibilities that the government overall have given to us. We work along with many agencies, cross agencies. We work with churches. We work with youth. We work with youth stakeholders. We work with the Family Resource Center. We work with all government departments, and we link young people to the resources that they need at the time to help them excel and to be more successful within our society. With that being said, today we are here to have those discussions and to examine how are we transforming education in our country. As we know, education is rapidly changing, and when I look back, even now for me as an adult, learning is an everyday thing now because of globalization and technology and everything else that is evolving. We have to sound the alarm and constantly say to everybody, we have to keep up with the times in order for us to be competitive and in order for us to be successful. And the young people are the leaders of this country. And in order for them to lead, they have to have access to education. Not only education, they're the innovators. They have to have access to resources to excel in their strengths.
Mr. Belafonte, if I could, good afternoon to you again, and welcome. Initial thoughts from you, being a youth ambassador, seeing the country's evolution, as it were, not just only its approach to education, its embrace of its youth and the voice of the youth, but your initial thoughts. I know we're going to hear great things from you.
When you speak about the country's evolution, you have to put things into perspective, because the world has evolved as well, and naturally we would adapt. I think things are a bit more difficult for millennials because the hallmark of our generation is that we know everything. And how can you care about anything when you know everything? If I hear a song, I can pull out my phone and find out which song it is. Mm-hmm. Versus, 20, 30 years ago where I had to probably walk to a record store to find out or get that song.
You mean have somebody take you?
Yeah. I can get it in 5 seconds now.
Right.
So there's that feeling of instant gratification for my generation. And that was something that I had to face coming out of university and entering the workforce, where I felt as if I was going to get a job right away because that's what I was used to. Like, if I was watching a show, I could watch the entire season in one day. That's how I grew up as a millennial. Mm-hmm. And like when I came back, it took me a while to get a job, so I was distraught and I was confused.
If I may ask you that, and certainly, because of who you are in terms of the intellect, but the importance of it, one, that notion of instant gratification, we see that, and the knowledge being accessible. I want to delve into that. But first, the idea of a job in this economy where seemingly there's a lot of employment. Right? If you have the skill sets, if you have the wherewithal, as it were, seemingly there should be opportunity for some sort of job. Mm-hmm. But there are many university educated, some experience, good qualifications, or even find it difficult to get into the workplace.
Well, that has to do with the economy. And you said that if you have the skill set, if you are qualified, you'd be one of the candidates that they would look at. But you are competing against the world, essentially. So good is no longer good enough. And that's why I think now is the hardest time in human history. Because had I left high school 20, 30 years ago with only my high school diploma, I would have gotten a job easily. Probably in government. I don't know. But, in today's age, the first degree is almost useless.
But yet then there are those who would come, and I respect, we have to be globally competitive, whether if we're trying to compete as an industry in the financial services, whether we're trying to attack the caliber of tourism so that it grows the economy. But if we look again at the notion that people are coming here because they're attracted to what is being offered, not just the pay, but the security, the quality of life, that standard of living that is offered here. And yet if the people we invest in for education, whether through public funded scholarships or private sector, or sometimes even your own resources, if they don't have an opportunity, or do they, in your mind, have that opportunity to get?
I believe so. I definitely believe so. I just think that they haven't realized, how difficult it is. Because as you said, people are coming here from their country, and they're coming here extremely qualified. Oftentimes they're being recruited. It's not just them coming on their own accord. They're being recruited from, an organization or a private sector business. It's difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult.
And at some point, maybe, I don't want to say the elders in the room.
There are none. We're so young.
The wise counsel of those assembled. Maybe, as Mr. Belafonte was sharing, the idea that we need to continue to raise the bar in relation to education, not just that academic pursuit, but also the other stuff. If I could, though, Ms. Young, welcome, and we certainly weren't going to be, ignoring you at all. Your initial thoughts, ma'am. The topic, the theme, the idea of being part and parcel of this new approach to living and learning.
Well, similar to what Jarrell said, it is harder for us as millennials to get jobs here. Overall, I feel like as a community, we do strive for greatness. And as the years have progressed, I have seen the increase of interest of younger people wanting to go back to school. The problem is when we come back, there are no jobs available. And I feel it's a part of the reason behind it is kind of like you're teaching them to go for what you want, go for what you think is achievable. But when you come back home, we don't have jobs for that because as a society, that's not what we're known for. Everyone wants to be a doctor. They want to specialize in I care for dogs, but how many doctors do you need like that in Cayman? You need people who are in the tourism industry. That's one of our major industries in Cayman. And because we're not pushing forward for stuff like that, it's harder when they come back.
All right. Well, first break. When you come back, you want to see the wisdom of those assembled. You want to be part of our discussion. 949-8037 or toll free with the kind compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. All the cell phones assembled, the best numbers to call are those I shared with you. The other numbers you call, I wouldn't call them just yet. But I want to hear your input, get your perspective as we talk about our youth. Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today.
The best back-to-school sale is now at Reflections. Buy one, get one half price on all back-to-school shoes. Over 100 styles of your favorite brands. Nike, Adidas, Puma, Reebok, and more. Back-to-school savings on shoes for toddlers, children, teens, and adults. Buy one pair, get the second pair half price. Or buy one pair of shoes and get a backpack half priced. The best back-to-school sale at Reflections. Now located on Shedden Road, across from Napa Auto Parts. Beside Mango Tree. Reflections.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
The Cayman Islands Seafarers Association wishes to inform all members that there will be a general meeting on Tuesday, August 20th at 7:30 p.m. in the Seafarers Hall, 11 Victory Avenue, Prospect. There will be 3 buses from West Bay Town Hall, which leaves at 6 p.m. The Barnes bus route in Georgetown leaves the public library parking area at 6:45 p.m., stopping at the Cayman Compass building and the airport Fosters. The bus, marked Bobo $1 public transport and is blue in color, picks up from British Caymanian, Uncle Bill's, Walker's Road, Shedden Road, and Crew Road. The bus from East End pickups are the school parking lot, the gas station, and Wreck of the 10 sales starting at 5:45. Northside pickups are at Chisholm Store and the soccer field starting at 6:15. The Boddentown pickup is at Lorna's gas station at 6:45 and the Savannah pickups at gas station at 7 p.m.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Looking for a new car? We can give you a zillion reasons to switch to electric. They cost you less to run. They help to save the planet. They are free charging stations all across Grand Cayman. Low maintenance needs. They're quiet both inside and out. And they're the future. But most of all, the government has reduced custom duties on electric cars. For cars valued below $30,000, you now don't have to pay anything. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure Facebook page for more information on electric cars.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for listening and joining us. And if I can again say to Miss Christine Miller for, not just assembling but celebrating today as International Youth Day to our youth ambassadors. We got a chance to share with them equally with our colleagues. I was just thinking, well, before we continue with introduction, you had wanted to share some things, but I was thinking earlier, could we, through you, because I need to be respectful to our ambassadors, maybe have them share a little bit about themselves at some point,
sure,
if they're comfortable.
Sure.
That'd be fine? Okay.
Sure. I just wanted to pick up a bit on Jarrell's point about the millennial and certainly how they grew up with being encouraged that whatever they want, whatever they pursue, they can achieve it, that they're, have whatever it takes to do that. And they're provided with just about all that their families, their parents can provide. And so he's talking about the instant gratification. And so, yes, that is why when some of these young people come back after studying and so on, they have great expectations of getting a job, of getting a good paying job, and it is not there. And so I recently saw this little documentary that was talking just about that some of the things that these millennials will face, and there are things that, yes, you will get the instant gratification in, but there are other things that it takes time. It takes time to build the knowledge, to build the skill. It takes time when you're getting into relationships to build those. They're just those things in life. Is like going from childhood through adolescence, through being a young person. By the time you get to being in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you have acquired quite a lot under your belt. And then you can speak with authority and all of that. But in the meantime, while you're pursuing the education and so on, these are some other things that you have to build. I certainly want to point to, though, a main takeaway I would like all of us is that the importance of education, that it is the vehicle to economic success, whether it is for an individual, for a family, and certainly for the society at large. Hence the importance of investing in our youth, who are our next leaders, that what they will have to be facing in terms of global competition, the fact that other first world countries are looking into the whole robotics, using drones for delivery. There are going to be some jobs that will become obsolete. So it is important that we invest in our young people, and even for those now, our teachers and so on, to ensure that they're constantly equipped as well with the knowledge and the training so they can impart that.
Indeed. Ms. Pat?
Just, again, thank you for having us. I mean, just wanted to
pull
say...
the mic a little bit more if you want, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
That the major thing that I'd like to bring today is the fact that we each have a responsibility in the success of our youth. It is all of us are stakeholders, our communities, our churches, our schools, and the process of transforming our young people is a process by which we all have a role to play. And it's about including them, including the private sector, including government, including the young people themselves, going to them, understanding that each learn differently and that we have to adjust our methods of teaching accordingly. So it is a process by which all of us have something to contribute, and it's in the best interest that all of us participate in the well-being of our young people.
Ms. Shireen, good afternoon to you. Please join us if you wish. Any thoughts on not just the theme and the topic, but the notion that our young people, in particular, not only are they the future, but they're the here and the now?
Right. We have to prepare them for the changing of the guard. Not us, but them. What I'd like to say is that I'd like to see more young people place more value on education and their education. There was a recent survey by the Economic Office where they found that most Caymanians, young Caymanians in the workforce, only had an associate's degree. While that is definitely an improvement from before, we'd like to see even a step ahead to a bachelor's or even a master's degree so that they can compete with the people coming here, compete on the world level. So I'd like to see more value placed by the young persons on attaining their education. And for persons who are not academically inclined, I'd like to see more training in vocational studies.
Right.
So we do have some private sector organization providing some vocational studies right now, and those are things that we'd like to explore with the youth.
If I may ask, though, this notion that on one hand, and I agree with you, every day, thank God for our mother, she always points to her head and says, once you get up here, nobody can take it from you. She was a champion. This is a champion for education. But if we just listen again to the comments we hear repeatedly, I went away to school, I got a master's degree, I got this education, I even did some little thing, I'm willing to work, but I can't find a job. If, for argument's sake, if some of our young people are looking at their peers who spent 5, 7 years, maybe more in tertiary education, $10, $20, $100,000 more in additional expenditure, we don't call it debt, and they're not finding employment, they're saying, well, why should...
Well, when I was in school, I also heard that when I was going to school. When I was going to, before university, people would say, why are you bothering to go to university? You're not going to get a job anyways. And I said, well, a lot of people are working. I'm going to be one of them who will be working. So I think after a period of time, you will find a job, maybe not immediately. I do believe that it's better for you to have your degree than not to have your degree.
I support you.
And you can start your own business. There's so much you can do when you're equipped.
I think we have to also emphasize the idea that the education include other areas. We have to expand the areas, as Chantal was saying. We have the hospitality industry. We have the tourism industry. We have the new technology and all the resources and all the jobs and available areas of educating in that. So I think we have to broaden the area of education and being able to educate them, not necessarily all in the classroom, because we know all are not going to perform in that way. That's not the skill set level for everyone. But I believe that it's possible to educate each person in their own way.
If I could just suggest too that just as for the older folks who are looking at retirement down the line, the recommendation is just don't get into retirement. You need to plan it. It is a process, so you look ahead. I would want to suggest also to some of the young people who might be listening in that this is a strategy that you could implement. If you certainly know what field or what area, or if you're exploring, start volunteering. We recommend that a lot. Volunteer if organizations, if there are departments that will receive you. It gives you an opportunity to see and to experience what is happening. And so you can make a decision, is this field I would want to go into, or would I want to try something else? So I am big on recommending the volunteering, certainly.
For me personally, I think in working in community development, I know that, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, growing up in the district of East End, when Miss Christine says volunteering, sometimes when we found persons, like for instance, you want to go on work experience, you want to gain some experience, because I believe that when you look at it back then, it was easier to be shadowed or to be mentored to get that experience. But to get it today, we did an apprenticeship program in East End. And the reality of that program is that to get some of those young guys to get some the experience, to get their hands-on from the experience from their job on that specific area that we were focusing on, we struggled with that because they needed insurances to be on the site, the job site, and they needed safety gear. So in transforming and focusing on education, we have to speak about the gaps. We have to speak about the challenges that young people are having. There are a lot of issues that they are faced with. If I go away and I get my degree, yes, I would think there's a job eventually, like what Shireen said, will be here or available to me. But how do we as a country give voice to the young people who are qualified, those who need training, those who need our support, those who have strength and they want to record their music, dance, art, whatever they want to do? How can we not only highlight the successes that we have had as a country, but how can we also bridge the gaps and reach down for those young people? When we look at globalization and we look at the changes in the Cayman Islands, have you been in a bank recently in Cayman? It's gotten smaller, the human interaction that you have in some banks. There are mergers. You go into a building now, and instead of seeing a receptionist, you're picking up a phone. Again, we look at the profit margin, look at competitiveness, the globalized, the world stage. Everybody is looking at the profit margin as they compete and the mergers. How do we then secure employment? How do we secure educational opportunities that will benefit everybody all around, understanding what we are faced with? As Ms. Christine said, the robot part of things, the computerized technology, the drones, all of those things we have to have a discussion on, because if employment is shrinking in one area, how do we tighten up on the gap that we are still a well-oiled machine and crime will go down in our country, but success will elevate through the roof for the people of the Cayman Islands? They are the things as a community development officer that I assess on a daily basis. I do take people to interviews. I see it has to be inclusive. How can the stakeholders be mindful that someone coming out of university with their degree is not going to be put on a shelf and say you need experience?
But this is where, if I may, we allow, especially for those youth, well, those who are here and those who have gone abroad or gone away to study and they're coming back, we certainly should be creating the opportunities and avenues to give them a voice, to hear them, to allow them to chart their future as well.
Well, we do have a caller online. As you get a chance, Mr. Belafonte, I wouldn't want you to mess up your hair, but the headsets are helpful. Anyway, give him a hard time in the studio. Let's go to our phone. Say good afternoon, welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good enough. Sterling. and your panel and Ambassadors Young and Belconte. I was listening to the discussions, and I really like what I'm hearing.
Thank you.
And for the question as if we have celebrated International Youth Day in the Cayman Islands before, yes, we have. It's always been something very quiet because August is normally when the youth services unit takes a break. So it's just maybe one-off, a small thing. Like today we launched our newsletter, our quarterly newsletter. And a lot of people see it on their WhatsApp groups and stuff. It's circulated throughout the Caribbean and throughout the Commonwealth. So you get a copy of that in some form real soon. Along with this radio broadcast, I want to thank the Department of Children and Family Services for reaching out to the youth services unit that we could involve our ambassadors in this way. And education, I think the way to transform it is to broaden it, to have young people learn from all the different experiences that they have in life. You can do that from reading a book to traveling to a myriad of ways outside of a classroom. And I think that's the kind of enrichment that we ought to be having young people exposed to, that they can grow their skill sets and have different spikes and talents as they go through life, and help to keep their attitude right. And once their attitude is right, the job market is a oyster for any young person that want to get involved. So that's my contribution for today. And there's National Youth Culinary Program, so we're doing a food sale on Wednesday. We're going to be selling seafood and stuff. So we'll be able to deliver to all the people in the government admin building and so Radio Cayman. So you'll be able to get some of that. Yeah?
All right. Well, thanks very much, eh?
And that's on Wednesday.
Wednesday. All right. Well, make sure now you remind us on there if you want to call in at any point and share with us. All right.
Cool. I'll send something on the WhatsApp.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. And this is where it is at now. We just need a quick respectful pause to take a break, because on one side of the table, you got to eat, the other side, you got to pay for it. This is how we pay for it. When we come back, more talk today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Cayman is one step closer to joining our Caribbean neighbors in offering world-class berthing facilities to secure the success of our cruise tourism industry, providing jobs and opportunities for our people for decades to come. This is a win for Cayman.
Looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
Steve Higgins Productions, in association with the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens,
the Cayman Islands Cancer Society,
and the De Silva Family Trust presents
Music of the Heart. A fantastic evening of excellent music presented by Delia Winter,
April Marr,
and Steve Higgins at the Marriott Beach Resort, 7 Mile Beach, Sunday, September 1st, 2019 at 6 p.m. Sponsored by
Harney's,
Appleby,
SMP,
NCB Capital Markets,
Jamaica Tourist Board,
and Radio Cayman. Tickets $25.
Available at Funky Tanks,
Super Stitch, or any member of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, or call
925-9134.
That's 925-9134. Proceeds will go towards the Cayman Islands Cancer Society and the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. That's Steve Higgins and friends in Music of the Heart. Sunday, September 1st at the Marriott Beach Resort. Don't miss it!
The time to invest in Cayman Brac is now. Contact Paradise Realty to invest in your future today at 925-7275 or email info@paradiserealtycyb.com.
The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger and better.
Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th, and all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher.
The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run.
Saturday, November 2nd.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us as we celebrate International Youth Day. Very, very grateful for the Department of Children and Family Services, in particular the Youth Services team and Social Work Manager, Ms. Christine Miller, for helping us to bring together this wonderful panel, and two of our youth ambassadors, Ms. Chantel Young and Mr. Joel Belafonte, together with Community Development Officer, Ms. Delmira Borden Kirchman, or Delmira Kirchman Borden. How did we put that? Kirchman Borden. Your mama would not. I know.
I can't forget my mom and my dad gave me that Kirchman name.
Yeah.
Birthright.
There you go, representing East End well. And Miss Pat Cannon. And Miss Shireen Barnes. Oh, I got to pay for that later. But the reason why I do that partly in jest is that sometimes we get so serious with life that we forget the seriousness of life. And that's to laugh, to love, and to be able to live. And as I see our young people in particular, the experiences to date, you get a chance to look at, maybe now, looking back 20 years, even though we're very young, right, Ms. Delmira?
Very young.
Looking back 20 years today, we can say, that was yesterday. You can almost remember. Looking forward 20 years for some of us seems almost impossible. With the greatest respect, do you think that our young people in this era of this sort of instant gratification of information being instantaneous, that when we stop and look forward, not just vision and the like, but planning, programming, and preparing, we look forward. 5 years, 5 minutes, 50 years, does that seem impossible, or is it that they're more tuned? Ms. Young?
It doesn't seem impossible, but the reality is we don't do it. It's more so we have what we have now. We use what we have to the extent that we want to, not to the extent that we can. It goes back to the conversation of there's AI technology all around the world, and we are just as easily accessible to it, and we don't use it because that's not something that we're interested in, but it's not impossible to get. When you look at the next 5 years, the next 5 minutes even, it's not something you do on a daily basis because that's not a conversation that you talk about. That's not what you're taught. You know, it takes a village to raise a child. The child himself has to run, you know, and if you don't want to utilize all that is easily accessible to you, all that we can get from everyone around us, all our environments, school, work, church, negative, positive, everything, it's pretty useless.
Gerald, what are your thoughts, man?
In answering the question, you have to understand where millennials are mentally and emotionally. Do you guys know that millennials have the highest rate of depression amongst any other generation in human history?
Right. Yeah, well, statistically, that's what they tell us. So I was going to ask you at some point.
And it makes sense because, 1 minute I'm praying for Paris, and by millennials I mean like teenagers, and the next minute I'm praying for Trayvon Martin. A minute after that, I'm praying for Scranton. There's just so much being thrown at me that, as I said, I don't know what to care about. And that confusion puts me in a state where, I don't know how I feel. And as an adult, as someone going through your adolescence, that's the worst feeling that you can have, being uncertain about how you feel and who you are. So looking at myself 10 years online, or even 50 minutes, is a difficult task.
Yeah. How do we help then? Given, and that's a very sobering statistic to see that. I have some views as a parent, but if I could, with the greatest respect, to ask, and maybe we could listen to you, at least your perspective. Why do you think that is that way? You're bombarded by so much. There are so many competing things for your time, and you're not you specifically, the millennials of today seem to be overwhelmed with all this happening. So how do we, the parents, the supporting cast of your other, fellow brothers and sisters in this sort of generation, what do we do to make it successful for you, safer for you?
Well, further to what Jarrell said, we are bombarded by a lot. But the problem is there's no conversation happening between the parent and the child. And in all reality, you don't have that conversation because that's not something that was taught to you. It's more so as a parent, you do what as I say, I'm teaching you right from wrong, and then you kind of figure it out on your own as you go along, versus some people taking the approach that, I don't want to be your best friend, but I want to be there. And the conversation nowadays, which I'm really happy to say, is that mental health awareness is a big deal, and we're being more and more, taught about the side effects, the effects that's happening. It's not a issue that it's taboo to say. It's a real occurring issue, and we're taking seriousness to it.
All right. We do have a caller, and then we got to do the news, but some other things. So let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for sharing.
Hey, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, my friend. How are you today?
Okay, and good afternoon to your guests also.
Good afternoon.
Sir.
This is International Youth Day.
International Youth Day, celebrated on the 12th of August.
Okay. Well, I have a suggestion. Albert Einstein said people should not try to be a person of success, but rather a person of value. And what he meant by that was we need to let our young people know this. Not everyone is going to be Bill Gates. Not everyone is going to be a lawyer and so forth. Those high-paying jobs. Some of our young people might become people who might be someone who works on a garbage truck. But we can't let them feel as though if that happens to them in their life has been wasted or they're not worth anything. Because without garbage men, we would be in serious problems. So we need to let our young people know, even if it's careers such as that society might look at it differently than being a lawyer or a doctor. We need to let them know there's still someone of value. And that's the greatest thing that we can teach them when it comes to things such as what will they become when they become adults. Because not everyone is going to be intelligent to become doctors or lawyers. We have some young people who might not be that intelligent when it comes to learning, but they're very intelligent maybe with their hands, such as carpentry or mechanics. But like I said, the greatest thing is to let them know whatever they become, the greatest thing is to be a person of value, even if you're not a person of success, such as Bill Gates or a millionaire who created some business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I certainly would like us to maybe respond to some things, but respectfully, the news is afoot. Let's pause. All right, yeah, please. And then ask you to join us when we come back. A couple of points to pick up there as well. Please stay tuned.
K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Radio K-Man.
Radio K-Man's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Police are urgently appealing for small boat owners to help in the search for a missing man after two boats collide on Sunday, leaving one man dead and a woman with injuries. Police are looking for the third man who was in the boat with them, and a search by air, land and sea is underway. If you have a shallow draft boat, jet ski or similar vessel and you're willing to help, contact the JMU by phone on 649-7710. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. United States President Donald Trump's administration is to make it more difficult for poorer legal migrants to extend their visas or gain permanent resident status, a green card. The rule targets migrants who rely on public assistance such as food aid or public housing for more than a year. Their applications will be rejected if the government decides they are likely to rely on public assistance in the future. Hong Kong International Airport cancelled all departures today as thousands of anti-government protesters occupied and caused disruption. Passengers have been told not to travel to the airport, which is one of the world's busiest transport hubs. In a statement, officials blamed seriously disrupted operations. And Argentine stock markets and its currency have both plunged after conservative Argentine President Mauricio Macri suffered a shock defeat in primary elections on Sunday. In early trading, Argentina's main Merval stock index fell 32%, while the peso slumped 25% against the dollar. Some of the country's most traded stocks have lost one-third of their value in just 2 hours. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much. And as I would ask all of us to continue not only to pray with and for, but to actively engage our young people. Any of us that are under 50, I still say we're young.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. And then when they get 70, I'll say the same thing. But I say that partly to recognize in the studio Miss Christine Miller together with two of our youth ambassadors, Chantel Young and Mr. Joel Belafonte. And, Miss Easton, Mr. Elmira. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Miss Pat Hanlon together with Miss Shireen Barnes. Just prior to the break, though, if there's anybody who wanted to maybe share some comments.
Well, the caller that called in, I said on the break, I think that every young person, be your own success. Whichever career path you choose, there is money to be made in all areas. Making wise choices and planning is important for greater success. You don't have to be an employee forever. You can be an entrepreneur. You do your own business. Not because you're a janitor, you won't make money. I see the cleaning companies are making millions of dollars. So I'm saying it's not because you're not a doctor or a lawyer, you're not successful. Everybody's successful.
Right.
Well, I would like to thank the caller. There were some very valid points. But I'd like to say that each person has a different potential. So the goal is just to fulfill that individual's potential.
Ms. Pat?
Just adding to what the caller talked about, the value in ensuring that each person know that they have some value. Our young persons will often compare themselves to those that they see around them. And it's important as we are working with them that we instill this value. But also in terms of educating and broadening that education, we must also educate our community. We must educate our parents, educate the private sector on the needs of our young people. One of the things that Chantal spoke about earlier that I think is very profound is the mental health issue, the depression, and identifying that and being able to speak to that and speak to our young people about that and talk about the resources, because this is something real. Not being able to communicate with parents depression, drugs, peer pressure, bullying. And depression is right up there in the top.
With that, though, I wanted to ask if it's, this notion that when you said earlier, if people realize the impact of depression on the millennials in particular, could I ask then, when we look at technology and seeing how societies, not just our young, but even their parents, we're walking around with something in our hands and we're looking at it as if it's the map to where we go. We don't see anything around us. As researchers presumably are saying that that's impacting not just the brain, its functioning, its development and the like. To what extent do you think the technology, the utilization of it, could be contributing to that depression, that isolation, that almost, Is
this mine or yours?
Take it both, man. Come on, Mr. Belafonte.
I think it has an astronomical impact on how millennials are feeling, namely social media. I myself had to take a break from it because I found myself comparing my path to other individuals on social media. And you can't do that because every individual has their own path to walk. That's what makes it unique. So yeah, I'd say it has
So then how do we get to a point as parents, as teachers, as individuals to say, listen, that picture looked so good, that was probably fake or staged. This person is that person, but I'm me. So that we are not overwhelmed by it. We don't feel less than.
Well, for me, my father, like he's an amazing father. He taught me from very young that greatness requires sacrifice, and that when you're on the road to success, it's not about the journey, it's the destination. So enjoy it, and appreciate failure. That's the most important lesson that my father taught me. He taught me how to appreciate failure because I know what not to do the next time.
It's just one way that things don't work. That's all it is, right? All right. I'm going to ask Ms. Young, but we have another caller as we go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and good afternoon to your panel.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I said that it's a good subject because I think that, I have this thing where, like, when I lived in the United States, for instance, I worked with architecture firms and stuff like that. I had young people coming working under me. I used to encourage them to try to, work hard. One day you might take my job from me, because I think that what happens to young people, or, they work in a firm where they are in such, they're kind of afraid to approach some of the people that are working above them, to like if they have a suggestion, they think, they get doubtful about their, what they want to say. And I can tell you that I've encouraged young people, and I say to them, you don't have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or one of these things that supposedly are elevated above all other things, because the doctor or the lawyer is no more important to me than the guy, as somebody suggested a while ago, the guy who cleans the garbage or the guy who does this or do that. They're all important. It's just the fact that these jobs, the lower case things, they don't make much money. You see, because that's where money comes in now. You see, everything, if you look at the stock market and stuff like that, this is like a gambling game. People bet on the stock market and they may get rich. They're not doing anything. Anybody that knows how to work the stock market, you don't have to have an education. You can manipulate, you can do what you got to do and get rich off it. So I'm saying to young people out there, whatever you have a talent for, and you love it that much that you want to pursue it as a way of your making a living, if you believe in yourself and you're good at what you do, you can be successful. As somebody said, whether you're a plumber or a fisherman or whatever it is it may be, you can become successful at it. And this is what I encourage young people to do. And don't be afraid to make suggestions if you're working with someplace and you have an idea, about something that might improve something within the work environment that you're in. Don't be afraid to say to your superiors. Tell them, because they don't know everything. And I remember once that I made such a suggestion and the boys say, they're not going to listen to you. I went and I took it, and they used it, and I got a promotion. Okay? So what I'm saying is, don't be doubtful about your abilities. You don't have to have a master's in education, but if you can do something good, you're good at what you do, I suggest that all the young people just follow their desire and their knowing themselves in that sense, that they continue to follow their what their mind is telling them.
But if I could ask you though, we're talking about knowing yourself and who you are. Two things you shared that strikes me. One is that even that young, let me say this, especially that young person that seems to be self-assured, we look at them in a different way. Instead of complimenting them, we say, "Oh, they're overconfident." The word we use. And then secondly, how do they know themselves when they themselves are sharing that they're bombarded and overwhelmed by so much that they're conflicted and confused? So, as a senior statesman and elder counsel, give us a perspective.
Yeah, but you see what happens, Dwayne, is this: there's certain people in authority that are so afraid of somebody taking their job because they're not confident. They're there because they got an education, because they got a master's and this and that. But they're not people. They're not proactive, and they're just there. It's a job. And if someone, and this is why when I was in my office, or when I lived in the States and stuff, I would tell young people that worked under me, I said, "You work hard, and one day you'll take my job." You see, because I wasn't afraid of them taking my job, But I'm saying this to encourage them, to let them know that if they work hard, they can achieve things, And these are the things that this is what's happening. The children don't get enough encouragement, when they go. And one of the things I would suggest before I leave, Dwayne, is this. I was fortunate that when I was studying architecture, I had to go at night school because I couldn't afford the tuition and stuff like that. I had to go to night school, and the company that I worked with, I got to work with an architectural firm that if I made good grades, they paid my tuition. So all I had to worry about was books and stuff like that, right? And the big good thing about that is when you can get a job within the firm or a company that the thing you want to do, and you can go to school at night and you can work during the day in that firm, you're applying everything you learn during the day to the work that you do. And I remember guys coming out of Yale and Harvard and places like that would come to me and ask me questions about what this was and what this meant and stuff like that.
Because you had a practical experience.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So you can be good at anything if you really, continue to be secure in yourself and know that, be positive about yourself, and you can do it. And that's what I encourage young people to do, because unless you do that, they get discouraged, and then people say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. How are you going to tell me what to do? I've been here for 10 years, and you know." You see, this is what I'm saying. So God bless us as a little island, and I hope that all the young people can be positive about themselves and do what's right and trust in God. That's a big thing.
Amen to that, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, thanks very much.
Have a good day. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Thanks.
If I could, anybody wants to jump in, I have 1,000 questions. But Ms. Christine?
Yeah, I would like to speak to Jarrell's statement about how when you're on social media often, that it can, over time, create depression because you're comparing, you realize that your life, because you're behind the scenes, as it were, you're befriending people who you really don't know in different countries, different states. And so when you're watching that and comparing yourself, yes, you can become depressed. Then there is the opportunity that creates for others to bully you and all sort of those negative things. Certainly we see in the US all that is happening now with the shootings and the racism and all of those things. So this is how youngsters, the youth, can get caught up in those negativity. We have a phrase that we use when we speak to our parents. We encourage them to help the youth or their youngsters to disconnect so they can reconnect. when in olden days, when certainly years gone by as children, when we used to go out for play, to play with our neighbors, with others at school and so on, it helped to build friendships. It helped to bring out different interpersonal skills that you develop. You learn to resolve conflicts, face to face, not hiding behind social media. So there's something to be saying to the youth out there: disconnect so you can reconnect. When you get depressed, that is where you will have some support from friends, from family, just to sit and talk about what you're experiencing.
Mr. Belafonte. No, I want to ask you guys if it's okay, right? And Ms. Young, from that perspective, and I hear Ms. Christine's, and I'm looking at my life now, just in case there's one person in the world that hasn't heard yet. I hate social media. I have no use for it. I can never be able to engage in it, but I have to. I have, just as an example, 3 devices in front of me now that normally I'm expected to engage with as I'm talking to all of you, right? To get information, to ask this question, it's easier said than done. I like to look at you when we talk because that's how it is, right? But how do we get to that point where we're still managing and not being managed by the technology? We're still finding time to go outside, to get some sun, to play, to a little taste of the fresh air. But this is life. This device here is everything. We have all information about everything.
I think it has to do with balance. I think one of the important things that we must teach and we must exercise is a balance in life. And that balance consists of the important things in life. Ourselves as an individual, our family, spouses, immediate family, children, our work, our community, our church. How do we balance those major things in our lives whereby one thing is not taking over the other? And I think that is part of the process in terms of managing and teaching balance. It also relates to the other areas and things that we see our young people struggling with. The bullying, the depression, the poor communication, the things that they struggle with. All within that requires some degree of balance. Being able to communicate, being able to put the gadgets down and talk. Right. Being able to have time set aside that it is just for you individually, or set aside time as we do to go to church, or set aside time that we give to the community. So it's teaching that balance, and not when our young people or when we're faced at the age of 17 and 18, but teaching that balance from very early. I think elementary age children, preschool children can be taught some degree of balance in terms of various areas. The bullying. We see children who are overextended in aggressiveness at the early age in life. That's where we begin. We don't wait until they're teenagers and say, this is a bit too much. Or we hear babies or younger children saying things, toddlers saying things, and we think, that's cute. Well, it's not so cute when it becomes at 18. So it's that balance that we bring and we teach at a very early age. And we, as parents, we demonstrate that balance also.
Well,
I was listening to our youth ambassadors, and there was something important that she said was, we don't talk about it. If we just heard their voices, they don't talk about it. It's a personal decision on their part to take a break from social media, but it can be encouraged by parents. There's so many mentors around us. How do we engage and have conversations? How do we place value? Do we place value on material things or the Kardashians? How do we place value? And we get frustrated because we've measured or we overreached and said we want that and we want to be like that. But then reality can be frustrating. It can be depressing. So how do we continue to have a dialogue on a daily basis, being mindful of what the young people have said to us today?
Here's a question from someone listening, again, electronically. See? This person asks, if you could ask the panel, what advice can you give to college-bound children about the challenges of post-qualification employment in the Cayman versus that of seasoned NA or employment opportunities in the jurisdictions where they have obtained their qualifications. Now, we did speak about this earlier with the brain drain and the like. This did come in a while back when so the concern it has, going to college in itself can be exciting, but it can be a little overwhelming. New challenges and changes. You're there and you see, whoa, grass over here looks good. I stay there for a while and live. But what are the thoughts?
Well, for me, I went to Clemson University. It's in South Carolina, so there was no way I was going to stay there. It wasn't even a thought. But I got to travel to every state in America because I was competing for the university at the time. And there were certain places that I did like, but I understood that my work is more valuable at home. I am a Caymanian, and at the end of the day, I came back to make a difference in my country. Not only is it easier, I feel like I owe my country, that I'm obligated to serve my country in that way. And, that's why I came back. That's just how it was for me.
That's profound. That is profound. I commend you. And because that is what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear from our people. That ownership, that this is home, that we owe Cayman something, that we have something to offer Cayman, and we have to encourage that. We have to teach that in terms of our value and our culture, and in terms of going off to university. When I went off to university was some time ago, a little time ago, but it was certainly a culture shock. I mean, coming from Cayman in 1978 and going to somewhere totally different. But what is important is what we send you with, what our young people go with. That value has to be instilled. And again, it begins not the day before they leave. It begins when they enter, when they come into the world, in education and teaching that value and who they are and what they can contribute. So going away, I knew that I was going to come back home eventually. That was always part of the process, and we are responsible for that as a community to encourage this in our young people and to show them their value. Again, coming back to the value that this is home, and we want those skills that you have gone out there to learn and to apply them to home. So
we do have another caller online as we go to our phones. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Hey, good afternoon again, Dwayne.
And welcome back again, man.
Yes, I just have a comment.
Of course.
And hopefully some of our young people are listening, because this program is for them.
Yes.
Yes, I remember when I was going to school, there was a friend of mine who was not able to read or write as everyone else. And today he's a professional painter. And his company is getting a lot of work at all the condos and things that are building up today. So, just to say to our young people, if you never got A's and B's in all your classes, just find your talent. God has blessed us all with talents. Find your talent. And once it's something that is honest, and it's not against the law, and as I said before, you're a person of value. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks very much, man. If I can, though, between, as we look at the time, maybe at some point, Ms. Christine, we have continuing roundtables as we look at our youth. To our youth ambassadors, if I could ask, we talk of social media and the like, and I keep coming back to it for two reasons. One, the notion that we see the science behind the impact that it's having on the development of the brain, the potential implications for social interactions and all. But to your peers, to the millennials out there who are seemingly, I don't say this hopefully too disrespectfully, constantly engaged in this thing, and unlike the good wisdom of Mr. Belafonte to disconnect. How do we get all of us, but in particular our younger people, to understand how to balance this thing and to look at it from the perspective of, well, maybe it's me. I look at the technology as a way to get information, to share information. Not interested in who was doing what, when, and where. not following the Caribbean rules. None of them. No use for it. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's not the norm. So, Mr. Belfont and Ms. Young, how do we get our society to start to value what is important, and for young people specifically, to manage this thing and not be managed by it?
That's the $1 million question. It really is. But you have to understand that there are individuals who came into the world not knowing what a phone looked like before the iPhone.
Right.
You have children like that, where all they know is social media. Whereas I remember the world before social media. I'm in my 20s. So it's a lot easier for me to say, all right, I need to give this a break, because I remember growing up, we never had this. We never had like Twitter, Instagram, none of that. I barely had the internet. We had dial-up when I was a baby. I remember that. That's the truth, you know. So it's a lot easier from my perspective and from our perspective, because we all remember the world before this madness came about. But for the younger people, that's their lifestyle, that's their way of life, that's the hallmark of their generation.
So with that, then, there is information, accurate or not, it's accessible, it's instantaneous.
Too accessible.
Yeah. How do we get to a point where, I'll borrow from what President Ronald Reagan in the U.S. had said to U.S. President, to the Russian President Gorbachev, trust but verify. Right? How do we get our people, our society, to be critical thinkers? We keep talking about it in schools, but we want them to see the information, but to know that it's accurate. Just because it's on some site somewhere, it looks official, it may even be an official source, but it's wrong. We see information about Cayman in the public sphere that is wrong. We see information about other things. We see little tweaks, deliberate or just inadvertent. How do we get to a point where we know what we're seeing to be accurate and credible, and we have verified it?
Chantel.
Oh, yeah. See that? No, the intellect passes off to the intellect.
I think you have to take a step back to realize that we are in a technological era. And to Ms. Christine's point, I do understand that, you know, you want to instill to take a step back from technology, but at the same time, you have to bear in mind, you taking that hour away from being on your phone and researching takes you an hour behind the world and what they have accomplished and what they have learned. You have to, you know, as people, we have to try to develop that balance, and that balance doesn't start right away. It starts from young. It starts by not giving a 2-year-old an iPad or an iPhone to watch YouTube while you shop in the supermarket, but teaching them how to do basic things: open a pack of chips, open a bottle of water. Start from young, playing outside. Exactly. But you also have to remember that the older you are, the more you develop, the more the world changes. You don't want to fall too far behind, and we are in a position in the world where we are not as easily accessible as other people when it comes to getting things. We're not in America where we can just go down the road and go and build a computer from scratch. We have to import everything, you know. So you have to keep that while we're teaching our children. Right. You know, you want to be out there but not be too far out there. You want to remember the values, but you don't want to fall behind.
If I could just interrupt then and ask. You shared, not with a 2-year-old, everybody would nod and say yes, but just prior, 1 hour of research is hour that you're behind. So to us now who have very deliberately said, okay, young person, you're being managed. You're not going to have 5 hours of unlimited internet access or whatever it is, right? But yet, if we are doing that, is there a fear now that we may be left out? Just to give you share. So again, that balance that you...
There will always be that fear, but you have to, as an individual, assess the risk of it. You know, you have to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back from social media. I'm going to disconnect for a week. What am I losing? What are my opportunity costs by not being a part of the wave? You know, what is the potential of, you know, something happening and I don't know about it? And then liaising with other people to see what they can do to assist you. So I could take a step back out of social media for a week, but Jarrell is still active. Can I liaise with Jarrell to have him inform me and keep me up to speed?
Could I ask then?
No.
Just a thought. Ms. Christine, if you think it's okay, we'll go screen-free for a period of time. The three of us would organize something. We do a challenge, a day, a week, and open to all of us. How do you think that would pan out, how many of us do you think could take off 1 hour, 1 week, and would you be willing to help me to do that? We off social media. We're doing a detox for X time.
I'm already off social media.
Okay, so
you guys need to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're ahead. We're almost. I'm not quite there yet, but some withdrawal symptoms. Would that be something that you think would be valuable, beneficial? Would it?
I mean, if we do that, you would see the difference. You could see the change. So I have a 14-year-old sister. She's almost 15. Sorry.
Thank you.
And she is heavily into social media. You disconnect the Wi-Fi and it's hell, freezes over. That's just that. I wasn't like Jarrell. I wasn't raised having technology easily accessible. I was born in an era where there were computers, though. And... that was a thing, yes, but it wasn't like I depended on social media to talk to people. I could go outside and have a decent conversation with someone versus her peers who they talk on the phone. To some, they would say, oh, well, they have no communication skills. They can't interact with people. They're missing or they're lacking that ability to do something. But what she can do on a device, I am still trying to catch up on, And it's not as much as I would hate to say, some things she has to teach me, even though I'm the older one. And I appreciate her for that. Mm-hmm. But then when you look at her and you compare her to me at that age, you can see the difference. Mm-hmm. We go screen free. What do we do next? Yeah. We are now at that stage where I don't have a conversation with her. I'm on my phone doing what I need to do. Then I go in. Talk to people. She's always on her phone. You take away both phones and we're just like, the weather, it's okay. What next?
But that speaks so much to what is actually happening, and that also speaks to where we are sometimes as parents, where technology is concerned. That gap between you and your sister may be even greater between mom and sister. Yeah. So you see where, and that is where it comes back again, that while we go into the modern and the technology, we still must be doing parenting. Parenting must still be a part of the process. And as Chantal said earlier, in terms of wanting to be our child's best friend and totally giving up all the parental authority and not being able to communicate that it's important to put that down and talk. But in terms of gaps, when we put that down, we begin to teach our kids the importance of talking. Communication again. The social media is good, but you cannot replace that face-to-face communication.
Well, I certainly want to, invite us back with Miss Christine as you take us through.
Yeah, but certainly, Pat, if I should just comment on that, I think this is where the parents need to turn things around a bit in terms of giving the youngsters the gadget to fill their time and to do all the different interactions and research they're doing, is to, when they do get their gadgets, it is a reward. It is for an hour or so. But it means that the parents have to now be responsible for planning activities, events, different. It don't have to always be going out, whether to movies or beach or whatever, or picnic. It can be different activities at home. When you build that sort of interaction, it builds trust, it opens communication. Youngsters are more, they find it easier to share very experiences that makes them anxious or worried or depressed. They are more able to share that with their parents or their older siblings, once they start doing that sort of interaction and so on. So there are benefits for the disconnection.
And I guess tying that back into the theme, it's not only transforming education in the youth, but it's transforming education across the board.
It is.
Because you educate your parents, or you educate the parents, they then educate the kids.
Yes, we have to educate everyone, all the stakeholders, the community, the parents, the churches, everyone that serves the young
Everyone
people.
plays a part in the raising of the child. So.
Certainly.
Mr. Belfonte?
I just wanted to address the notion of accountability. I would be remiss if I didn't iterate that it is not our fault as millennials. We were dealt a bad hand. I truly believe that. We came into the world as it was making that transition into the technological stage of life. And I would also like to say that although it isn't our fault, it's our responsibility to overcome the challenges that we are facing. And it's actually easier than you imagine.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to encourage listeners to do something with their young persons today to celebrate the day. We're going to do something with some of our young people that we work with. Next year we're planning something bigger and better for the community, and more people will be invited. And I also want to wish the back to schoolers a very good year in school and all the successes in all of your areas, academic or vocational.
Ms. Christine?
I'm happy we had this discussion. I think it certainly opens up other avenues that we could be looking at and having more regular discussion about our youth and educating and all of that. What I did not mention was that in terms of speaking to the population that the youth service team, which is the team I lead, that we deal with, these are young people ages 12 to 17 who fall afoul mainly of the law. And most of them you will find they're not doing well in school. So one of our tasks is to certainly help to redirect, to help them to at least accomplish those basic things of reading and writing. With being able to read, they're able to have better comprehension, make better choices, don't get into so much conflicts and all of that. So that is the task that my team presently works with. I'm appreciative of everybody who is here, of all the points that were raised. I think we had quite a vibrant discussion. We look forward to doing this again, certainly if not throughout the rest of the year, next year, 14th of August.
All right. Thanks very much.
12th of August, sorry.
Yeah. It might be a Monday.
Yeah, I would like to reiterate, and thank and encourage young people to know that the Cayman Islands government do have a lot of programs going on, although we speak about the gaps and the areas that we have to strengthen. I would also like to leave you with the business community in the Cayman Islands in general to say that second chances is important. Don't forget those young people that need a second chance, that needs more help than, others, and give them opportunities, allow them to be employed, allow them to further their education. Let us work together, not only for second chances, but for the youth of the Cayman Islands in general. Let us be there for them and make them the leaders that they should be for tomorrow and many years to come.
True. Certainly second and third chances, but honestly, a genuine first chance is actually good too. All right. Thank you all very much. Enjoy your week.
Thank
you, Ms. Christine.
Thank you.
And when we come back, Mr. Denison Tibbetts will be joining me. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Parents, do you know what time it is?
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Well, it's not Christmas time, but school is nearly back in session. Is your child ready for the school year? Stop by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village and pick up all of your child's stationery supplies. With 30% off selected items, you won't need to break the bank to get your little one prepared for the school year. You have enough to worry about. Make back to school a breeze with Savannah Pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, or call 946-3336.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning-fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now, you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
The Miss Cayman Islands Universe Committee is inviting you to our pageant on 17th August, 7 p.m. at the Ritz-Carlton. The committee continues to empower young Caymanian ladies to become role models in the community. So come out and see our 6 beautiful contestants vie for the title of Miss Cayman Islands Universe. The winner will represent us at the Miss Universe pageant. Get your tickets today at Funky Tangs and Sand Angels.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca, and an entertainment trivia section.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town.
Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for
Know the
Merengue
signs
Town.
of a faulty septic system.
Sinks and/or toilets that drain slowly, floor drains that overflow, or sewage that is visible outside your home are all signs that your on-site wastewater treatment system is not working properly. If your septic system is faulty, now is the time to fix it to prevent further damage in the event of a storm. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger and better.
Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher.
The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run.
Saturday, November 2nd.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion.
RC Fusion is proudly sponsored by Purple Dragon, building the strong leaders of tomorrow.
Cool.
Call 946-1241 or email purple@cnw.ky.
Did you know that once properly sanitized, some tinned food items may still be safe for consumption after coming in contact with floodwater? In order to properly sanitize these tins, always remove labels and then wash tins in a strong detergent solution using a brush to get rid of excess impurities. Tins must then be immersed in a solution made of 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water for 10 minutes. Ensure that containers are air dried before opening. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit the DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us as we have an opportunity now to welcome to the studio once again Mr. Denison Tibbetts, president of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association. Always is, Mr. Denison, a true pleasure to sit and chat with you and to not just be inspired and motivated, but to be encouraged by you. So, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you too. I was thinking while I was waiting. Well, living in Jamaica in the 60s, there used to be an announcer there called Don Toppin, and every time he came on, he said, "Hello, Grand Cayman, Cayman Brack, and Little Cayman. DT says hello." So I guess I can do the same.
Yeah, there you go. You got same initials.
Yeah, same initials.
Yeah, but it's as you shared, the importance of radio, the way it can immediately inform and communicate, the way it can not just I guess I love a very personal approach to things. Radio is powerful, man. It
sure is. It sure is. I was on the way here. I was listening to the lady from Easton with the. I didn't even know that today was International Youth Day or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a youth anymore, so I guess.
Well,
but I do have a grandson, 9 years old. He had his first day of school in the States in grade 4, and he sent me a photo. I have to tell his mother to put long pants on him because at 9 years old, when I was 9 years old, I didn't wear short pants. But anyway,
well,
I would support that anyhow because it's so important. And I was also born in that era where you didn't have all this means of communication. But I tell you, my mother, I used to call her Margaret Thatcher, she made sure me and my brothers and my sister, we did what we were supposed to do, because Dad was always at sea as a captain, you know. Yeah. But mainly why I'm here is, when I contacted you last week, was just to inform the seafarers and other people who want to go to Mr. Long's funeral on Wednesday. Not only was he the first governor, but I got to know him quite well because I built a house for him about 20 years ago, and I remember that because it was the same year my mom died. So, and I always saw him, even when he was in a wheelchair, he'd go to the supermarket, you know. So he was a great guy. So that's the reason, really, for me being here. But you go ahead before I get into all of the details.
No, I'm gonna, we'll talk about other things, but I think it's important. And as you shared, the information that we can give people now. Wednesday is not just 2 days from now, but we get so busy that we forget things. And even though we may intend, we may have to put things in place just to make sure.
If I don't write it down, I forget it. Once you pass 70. Well, I have a friend, he's very much alive, and he's a little bit younger than me, but he said, by the time you reach 40, that's it. But I just heard Rupert on the radio talking to you. I have to remind him to remind his fellow West Bayers that we have the funeral on Wednesday. I'll just quickly go through it. As I said, it's the first governor of the Cayman Islands, Ace Long. I can't remember what the ACE stands for, but I used to call him Mr. Long. We have them coming from East End, North Side, Georgetown, and West Bay. So, East End, first of all, is this. I thought when they called from the glasses, it was just for seafarers, but it's not. It's for seafarers plus anybody else who wants to come. You know, Jerry Wood from Bordentown with the school buses, he generously donated the bus for that day. Tab Welcome will be the driver, and at 11 o'clock they'll be at Chisholm Store North Side, pick up all the people there, and all the way back to East End through Queens Highway, and then on to the primary school there. So he's going to pick up all of the people there. If there's anybody in Bordentown, at Lorna Station, all the way down, you know. And I spoke to him and reminded him that, you know, it's not only seafarers. By the way, seafarers need to wear their T-shirts. We want to go like a uniform, you know. Whether it's black, white, whatever color you have, preferably black or white. And they have to be seated by 12:30. So we want them there like 12 o'clock. Like I said, Chisholm Store at 11, all the way down. Then Georgetown behind the old library. Webster's tour bus. I have to say thank you publicly to Dr. Webster. He has generously donated his bus. And they leave at 11:30 behind and it's open to any seafarer plus other people. Okay? West Bay was a little bit difficult to organize because most of the people who are seafarers, let me rephrase that. Most of the people who have buses that transport the seafarers on meeting nights, they have tours that day. Anyway, I've secured Mr. Let me see what his name is. I call him Bobo, but his right name is Ellard Miles. We call it the dollar bus, you know. He'll be at the town hall in West Bay at 11 o'clock. He leaves town at about 10:30, he said. And again, seafarers and anyone who wants to come. And I must publicly thank him, Bobo, Dr. Webster, and of course Jerry Wood and Tab Welcome. So I'd also like to remind people that today and tomorrow it'll be a skeleton crew, mainly me at the seafarers because the office manager is off. So please remember, it's Mr. Long's funeral. And after the funeral, after the burial, they're going to have some kind of reception at the Peter Castle. But the buses will wait on us. The young lady who called said by 4:30 it'll be all finished, So. And
the services at the King Islands Baptist Church?
On Peter Castle Road,
right.
Yeah. And the burial is right at the Eden funeral. What do you call it? Eden Cemetery. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So public transport, I think, is not just a good way to come together, but to ensure that those who may be challenged during that day to find transport. Very commendable to see the community coming together to be able to provide that.
Well, I'm happy to say that it appears, and I hope I'm right, that the government is finally recognizing us a little bit better. I mean, I've plugged it enough, gave them enough
encouragement.
Well, I was going to say another word, but encouragement.
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 The word we didn't use.
But I'm really, the governor even has come. The governor, Minister McTaggart, Minister Seymour, and the Speaker of the House. They'll be at our next social. I think it's September the 17th. So that should be an indication of that we're finally being recognized a little more by the government. I
almost tempted to follow in your footsteps and to laugh and try to joke and say, well, despite them coming, don't stay away. We won't do that because I'm going to get in trouble if I said that.
I'm not twisting your arm either. So
no.
You could go ahead and say what you want.
No,
But I think really, in addition to this, what I'd like to say is that I think over the years we were not recognized as much, mainly because, well, I shouldn't say this, but it's a fact. There wasn't enough push from the older members who were past. I give them all the credit in the world, but it needs to be publicized more, and gradually, because every time I've given a toast, a tribute at a funeral, I've tried to emphasize it that, we're not recognized for what we have actually done.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much me, because I came at the tail end of it, but my 5 years was well spent. My dad had 38 years of it, and other people had 27, 30, and all that, But it made Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to this funeral this year, too, and the lady's sons, they reminded everybody that $100 allotment, whether you wanted to or not, that came out and went home, So that is what helped to build this country.
It instilled a sense of not just sacrificing us, but a greater sense of appreciation. And I think is why so many continue to serve today, as they see the need,
I had someone came to the office this morning to drop off a paper. He's an old seaman, and he's from East End too, so I don't know if I can talk like him, but he said, man, that's what we're missing, man. We should never have stopped that, because these young boys nowadays, they don't have nothing to do. And it's sort of true, because with the advent of all this WhatsApp and computers and all that, they don't get out and do nothing.
But if I could ask you, because I was thinking back to the conversation as you were listening as well to, we celebrate International Youth Day, we see the challenges in many respects, and it's not just localized, it is global in a sense.
Right. Yeah, it is.
But when we think of it, on one hand, the training opportunities that are available. Now you can guide me to make sure I have it correct, but at one time did we not have a facility behind the old library where you went and you could get certified and become a bona fide captain? Right?
I'm not so much...
It was a maritime training.
Yeah, but it wasn't really for international, but you could become a local captain.
It was international? Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't. You would have you'd have to be on the ships to do that.
Right, but it was a premise.
Yeah. But it was very good.
Right.
And then they moved it to Newlands. They had an old ship, they call it ship, but it was like a little boat.
Right.
Compared to the size that we used to go on. But all that is kind of gone by the wayside because You know, I came here 47 years ago. I'm a Braca, so people can't question my my authenticity of a Caymanian.
I'm not going there. Not today.
But when I first came was when they had the whole thing behind the library. And for some reason, it just died a natural death. I mean, I remember...
Or was it deliberately destroyed?
Well, I won't go there either.
Okay. No, and the reason why I'm asking is that...
I don't know whether it was... I don't know, because every person who I've spoken to in recent times, we should have kept this, we should have... Hey, I wasn't in the government. They looked like they didn't want me in the government, because when I ran, they didn't put me in. So
next time.
Well, hopefully there'll be a next time. But they should not have stopped it, but it just died a natural death. I don't know why. Well, let me rephrase that. I kind of know why, because I think one of the somebody called in or somewhere a while ago when you were talking about the International Youth Day. Oh, there was a guy from West Bay, I think, don't know his name, but he was saying, and rightfully so, truthful, everybody can be a dentist or you know. But it seemed like when these schools were in operation, they weren't supported. So that's probably why they died a natural death, you know. Of course, that's only my opinion.
Right.
But I think that's what happened.
Well, it speaks to a lot of things, and I think as you shared, we got a news coming up. You want to stay after the news and join us? Your time? You want to do that?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
All right, Mr. Denniston Tibbetts. We get into some other things. We'll set the world straight, at least for today. And certainly, Mr. Denniston's primary mission and objective is to remind the seafarers and others of the public transport that will be available. We'll remind you of the time and the locations when we come back. The phone lines are open. Always great for the counsel and the company, Mr. Denniston. I can benefit greatly from his advice and wisdom. So maybe we can delve into that as well. Please join us after the news break.
Gym tonight?
I have another test today.
Wow, for somebody who isn't in school, you've had a lot of tests this week.
Well, Vamp Motors is giving out fresh baked cookies to customers who test drive SUVs this month. And since I haven't decided what to buy, I'm just test driving each one to see what I like best.
You better test drive that to the gym and back, especially with all those free cookies you're getting from Vamp.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this August at Vamp Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. Now through the end of August. That's every SUV in stock on sale. Save up to $4,400 or put the savings towards upgrading your vehicle. Sweeten the deal with Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Sports fans, tune in to Radio Cayman Sports Extra Show.
Hi, I'm Bruce Lee Colson.
Sports Extra.
This and every Tuesday night, right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 and 93.9, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Sports Extra, 7 to 8 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. Sports Extra.
Proudly brought to you by King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Hello, Cayman. I am Mariah Tibbetts, contestant number 3, representing the majestic district of Bodin Town. When I lived in Cayman Brac, I learned how to fish using soldier crabs as bait. I love spending time with my family, especially my 2-year-old nephew who calls me Yaya. Some of my favorite places I've traveled to are Amsterdam and New York, and I can't wait to add more to my list soon. The color pink describes my personality well because I'm a girly girl, I like to be romantic, and I consider myself to be a sweet person. I hope to see all of you at the Ritz on August 17th, where we will crown the new Miss Cayman Islands Universe. See you there.
Radio Cayman 3 to 6 mix on the weekdays. Brought to you by
Cayman Insurance Center, serving the community for 45 years. Don't take chances with your family's future. Call Denise Brown at 814-7229 or Michael Webster at 925-5433. Fitness Plus and Train with Dre. Getting in shape has never been easier with the mobile fitness app by Train with Dre and the new Eco Power Sport Art equipment.
Every day.
Every day.
All the time.
All the time.
Visit fitnessplus.com for more information. Also brought to you by Merengue Town.
It's time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for
District to
Rainbow
district,
Sound.
moving through the waters to Cayman Brack and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
I'm April Cummings with your headlines. 879 more signatures to go as of 4 p.m. on August 10th. The Elections Office says it has now verified 83.4% of the 5,292 signatures needed to trigger a people's-initiated referendum on the Cruzport project. Cruzport referendum Cayman has turned in 5,663 elector signatures on the petition, and the Elections Office says it has now received 4,413 verification forms to date. The Elections Office also has a series of verification locations at local supermarkets, as well as offering extended hours at the Elections Office. You can find out the details at elections.ky. In international headlines, a friend of the Dayton gunman who killed 9 people told federal agents he bought him body armor, a gun accessory, and a 100-round magazine earlier this year. That's according to a court document unsealed today. The charging document says Ethan Coley bought the items for Connor Betts and kept them at his apartment so the friend's parents wouldn't find them. The charge comes just a week after the mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio, where 24-year-old Connor Betts opened fire in a popular entertainment district, killing his sister and 8 others. Officers shot Betts within 30 seconds, killing him just steps outside a crowded bar. 2 of 4 experimental Ebola drugs being tested in Congo seem to be saving lives. That's according to international health authorities today. The preliminary findings prompted an early halt to a major study on the drugs and a decision to prioritize their use in the African country, where a year-long outbreak has killed more than 1,800 people. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. In the studio, the good company of the president of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, Mr. Denison Tibbetts. And even though so, I'm very grateful that you made time in your day to come and remind the seafarers of the opportunities. We can take some time and chat about other things.
Well, that's my job, and I, even though it's a volunteer thing, but I enjoy it, and I like talking to I like talking on the radio to people who are members of the seafarers and their immediate family, because a lot of them are misinformed after all these years since 1994 when we became an association. You know, I remember some months ago I came and tried to explain that the ex gratia payment doesn't come from Mr. Southwell, and a lot of the older seafarers thought that that's where it came from, but. And there's so many other things that crop up. And today is, well, I did contact you last week, and you gave me 2 slots. And it was very good that I chose today, because some of the things weren't finalized yet. You know, some of the people who are going to transfer the buses and all that. But I wanted as many seafarers to be there from the various districts, because we're all one, and I just like to remind them. As a matter of fact, yesterday I carried a shirt for a lady, but her husband isn't able to come, but she's going to come. She always comes to the meeting now, so she's going to be broadcasting it up there too, because she has a way of doing things in the north side, But I would like to see as many seafarers as possible on Wednesday, because Mr. Long was a good man. I knew his wife, and of course I know Charles. I think he has another son, but I never did meet him. But he's a true Caymanian. He's going to be buried here. His wife is already buried here, you know, even though he's an Englishman, but he was the first governor. And, you know, he exemplified himself not only as a diplomat, but as a person who can be a common person like the rest of us, you know. And I thought a lot of the gentleman, and I'm hopeful that we get a good turnout, you know.
Yeah. I think there's the opportunity, you know, to show our respects and to be appreciative of the kind of society we live in. People come and they see the graciousness of the country. They make a genuine contribution to its development, its progress, its prosperity.
Well, he did. I mean, he did to the max, because I remember when I was much younger, I was on a couple of boards, government boards, and he was chairman of two of them. But while I served with him, that's probably why I got to know him so well. Ace Long, I call him, because I could never remember what ACE stood for, but I call him Mr. Ace Long. You know, but he was a good man, no doubt. But even though he never forgot his English accent, you know, but he was one of us.
Well, you know, that's interesting. That's a change. I guess a change in dynamic too. You look at people who've come here as an adult. They're already entrenched in their speech pattern, their accent, intonation, what have you. But there are those of us who were born here, we grew up here. Maybe our parents are from some other country, and yet those children grew up sounding either like their parents or what they hear on TV and social media. Yeah. And
of course, if they went to the Catholic school, they spoke like Americans, right?
Or
Uncle Denniston, how are you today? I said, where do you come from, girl? But you know, my little grandson, he was born in the States. He lives there. He lived here for a couple of years, but he speaks distinctively, but not like an American. Yeah. He just speaks, you know, because my daughter, who's a teacher up there, she still speaks like a Caymanian, only, you know, speaks proper.
Yeah. Well, she's a, you know, I guess embodies the education and
it's a different culture now too, you know. I remember there's a song, put a West Indian in New York City overnight, him turn Yankee. And that is true, because, and then the bad part about it, God rest her soul, my wife was a Jamaican, but she used to laugh at the Jamaicans who tried to speak like an American, and then bam, you know, they don't remember all of it. So they, Mr. T, it's so good to see you, but me forget what your wife name, you know. It's a two-tone thing, but that calypso was right, you know. Because you put a West Indian in a West Indian, not only a Jamaican, but even Caymanians go to New York. And I remember once traveling, and this is kind of off the cuff, but I remember traveling, and this Caymanian guy from West Bay too, unfortunately.
Okay.
But the guy had a green card, okay? And he's in the line going to the immigration, and he presents his Cayman passport, and the man is giving him all kind of hell because he doesn't have a visa, you know. And the guy is arguing with him, and all of a sudden he presents. So the man said, "Well, why didn't you show me that at the beginning?" And you wonder, what was he trying to prove? He has a green card, but apparently he wanted to go through the Cayman passport without any kind of documents. So, but everything has changed now. You know, you can. I have a thing with the U.S. I got in problems with them in 2001, and it has never been resolved. So every time I go there, they put me in a room for 10 minutes. Oh, you're a good fellow, go ahead. But they still stop me. I don't know what it is that they do. And they say the only how I can get rid of it is if I go to Washington. Well, I might consider it one day, but
it's. I mean, not to get into your business, but thinking back to what you shared, the young people, the technology, and the identity theft, the need to look at it. We have the data protection legislation. All these things that are being sort of affecting our society. And your example reminds me of someone I worked with way back when, that they were away on business. Somehow their information, you know, got hacked or whatever it is that happened. Someone ended up, you know, taking their identity. And you know, for the longest time, just doing business, you know, traveling was horrendous.
It happens. What really happened to me? I forgot my passport on the plane. And when I remembered it, they wouldn't make me go back for it. And the agent went and he couldn't find it. So they made me stay in a room that whole night. Next day, they escorted me. Luckily, with the same plane. And I found the thing right there. So I said, sorry, because the guy was leaving me there. So they entered me and I went about my business. And ever since that,
wow,
that's what has been happening.
Some of the notation, boy, it's reminds us of how,
But you would have thought, you brought up, and the kids a while ago brought up about the progress that we've made with computers and all kind of things that you can do. You would think that, because I keep arguing, I said, well, why can't you? Oh, Mr. Tibbetts, you're a good man, blah blah. Why can't you get this off? I don't know what it is, because I don't see nothing on my passport, on my visa. They still give me a visa every 10 years. But something they do, they put me in a room. So I'm getting used to it now. When I used to travel with my whole family, I'd let them come after me, because years ago it used to take hours. Now it takes 15, 20 minutes, but still, they're still, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it's worth looking into. I mean, you want to resolve, because it's always something.
But funny enough, some years ago, before I got a new passport and a new visa, when the U.S. consul used to come here, I got Mrs. Wright, Christine, who was in charge of them, and I sought audience with the guy, and for 2 years before I had to get a new passport, I traveled fine. And all of a sudden, when I got a new passport and not so much a new passport, but a new visa, something they put in it again, Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah,
but
I got a suspicion what it is, but it's all about technology not being,
they keep saying, oh, we can't do it here, we got to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that I was a seaman, because I went to places that I know that I would never be able to afford to go in,
Yeah. But for that's seafaring heritage and tradition, and many times those of us whose fathers, grandfathers, even older brothers or uncles that went to sea, we got to see the travel, but that was only after. We also got the truth of the challenges, the difficulties, sometimes the perils,
Well, most of the time when I'm describing a seaman, a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know I used to do all that, I mean, the work was so hard, but sometimes it'd be 30 days before you went ashore and all that. I mean, when you went ashore, you didn't remember that 30 hard working days, but...
But is that part of it then, that many times, I think the comments I've heard over the years from different seafarers who said, they didn't really want to encourage their children, their grandchildren.
Yeah, because it was all hard work. My dad wouldn't encourage me either, but I just wanted to follow in his footsteps, because, he was a captain, a self-made man. He wasn't able to go to high school and university like I was. But I was glad that I did it, Even though the first year I came back, I think I was gone 13 or 14 months. When I came back, I went out and I stayed too late. My mother wanted to beat me after being away for 14 months.
And being a grown man, huh?
Of course.
Who's in charge.
Yeah, but anyway, what I would like to remind them now, before, we have a little time, but while I'm still remembering, although I have it written down, is that Eastern Northside, it starts at Chisholm Store by the Hot Road there at 11:30. There should be in East End coming down. Then they stop anywhere along the line that seafarers, they'll be at the road, but the main stop is at Lorna Station, right to Peter Castle, or the Cayman Island Baptist Church on Peter Castle Road, for Mr. Long's funeral. And if the seafarers, would they wear their T-shirts with the crest on it, and they want us to be seated by 12:30. Georgetown, behind the old library, they'll be there at 11:30. Webster's Tours, same thing applies. Anybody who wants to come, but mainly seafarers. West Bay, the Dollar Bus, I call him Mr. Bobo, but his right name is Ellard Miller. Miles, sorry. He'll be there. He leaves town at 10:30, and by 11 o'clock he'll be there, pick up, then go to Peter Castle. And all the buses will leave after the funeral. They'll have a reception at Peter Castle. And then after that, the young lady who called said about 4:30 it should be over. So the buses will take everybody back to where they pick them up.
Very convenient and very considerate. I think we look at that and we see, again, as you shared, where the country should show its deference to seafarers and the like.
Yes. I guess the government realized we can get things done when they can't.
Well,
and I said that, not you.
Am I being a bad influence on you, Mr. Dennison? But the country recognizes too that the seafarers got things done when they needed to be done. That
even years ago when we were out there, and there's so many. I have a good friend who lives. We play the dominoes together, me and him and my two brothers, 2-3 times a week. But he left National Bulk and went to another company in Canada. And I mean, he's only 3 years older than me, and he spent like 15, 20 years or something like that out there. And his experience at sea is much, much greater than mine. I only had 5 years of it, My dad now, he had 38 years, but then it was a lot different those days,
Yeah. It is, and even now. Maybe, Mr. Fox, we got the final break to take. All right. Could I ask you then, after you come from the break, what do you think it would be like for that young Caymanian today wanting to consider following in the footsteps of the father, the grandfather, and take up the seafaring, tradition? How would they go about it? Any sort of guidance and the like? Maybe we can chat about that if possible.
Yeah, we could.
All right. When we come back, we'll have some more closing thoughts in the good company of Mr. Dennison Tibbetts. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Parents, do you know what time it is?
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
But it's not Christmas time, but school is nearly back in session. Is your child ready for the school year? Stop by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village and pick up all of your child's stationery supplies. With 30% off selected items, you won't need to break the bank to get your little one prepared for the school year. You have enough to worry about. Make back to school a breeze with Savannah Pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, or call 946-3336.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
Do you have a business in the tourism industry? The Cayman Islands Department of Tourism wants you to get listed on their website. Visit CaymanIslands.com. It's absolutely free and will give your business added exposure on the #1 visited tourism site for the Cayman Islands. Learn more and get listed at www.visitcaymanislands.com/sign up. That's www.visitcaymanislands.com/sign up. Don't wait. Sign up today.
This is Caitlin Tyson, your reigning Miss Cayman Islands Universe, here to encourage you all to attend this year's pageant on Saturday, August 17th at the Ritz-Carlton Resort. It's going to be an amazing event. Tickets are on sale now at Sand Angels in Camana Bay and Funky Tangs in Georgetown. There's limited seating, so be sure to get yours soon. Thanks to our corporate sponsors, the Ministry and Department of Tourism, Cayman Airways, Hurley's Media, and Radio Cayman.
The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger and better.
Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher.
The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run.
Saturday, November 2nd.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for sharing with us. And the phone lines are open if you want to call, share a thought, ask a question. The great company counsel of Mr. Dennis Tibbetts, not only his capacity as the president of the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, but I say this with great respect to you and others, Mr. Dennis. Our communities sometimes do not immediately value, appreciate, nor access the wisdom, the experiences, the expertise of, I don't want to say our older folks, but those who are, a few years are senior. And
well, I'm a whole lot older than you are, so not a few years.
Yeah, well,
old people thought I could be your daddy, boy.
That is true. But you've had an experience not just at sea. You've seen the country sort of development. You've seen things socially, economically, politically, and if we can tap into that, that would give us a perspective. We don't have to live through it. So those who are listening, if you want more information about the seafarers or just anything in general, hey, we got a few minutes left of our program. The phone lines are open, 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can call toll free, 1-800-534-8255. And if I might, though, I keep wondering sometimes where, yes, the scriptures talk about a prophet is, without honor in their own country and the like, but we spend money as a society getting advice from people from elsewhere. We call them consultants, not just the government, but others. And yet that same information could be had for a lot less, a lot quicker, perhaps more accurate, and certainly, sometimes a lot better by just tapping the guy right across the street.
Some years ago, a young lady from the National Archives, well, I know her and her husband quite well. And every time that she heard me talk about, because even though I'm not that old, but things that happen I'm a person, I like to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
So my brothers, both of them, they say, well, how you know so much? I said, listen, I ask questions. And she said she works at the archives. My niece works there too, my sister's youngest daughter, Tricia. She used to be at the radio here, Tricia Borden.
Yes, sir.
Or she's Borden now, but she was Grant then. But she came to my house, and she recorded about 2 hours of conversation, and I told her all about Spot Bay and Creek, and, I didn't know too much about Grand Cayman until I came here, but I still ask a lot of questions, and when I have to do these tributes, and I'm not tired of it, but I tell you, I'm tired of people dying, older people, Somebody said to me yesterday, I think, boy, you're lucky, all your friends around you dying and you're still here. I said, well, thank God, because, but anyway, she recorded 2 hours of conversation with me, and they have it at the National Archives, And it's things like that they should publish more often, they should have a day of something so that everybody could, because even that little intro that I did with Don Top, and I know that there are people my age that can remember that, even though they didn't live in Jamaica, because every evening at 4 o'clock was his show. Hello, Grand Cayman, Cayman Bragg, and Little Cayman. Don Toppin says hello. I changed it and said DT says hello, because it's the same initials,
One the same, huh?
Yeah.
No, but that is, I think it speaks to the fact that our history is still very much an oral history. And as our elderly, in particular seafarers, pass on, it's not just that we're, again, maybe I'm being a little bit too critical, that we're paying sufficient respect to them while they're around. But more importantly, we don't seemingly value, we don't recall, not just their contributions, but experiences, the things that they've happened during their time at sea.
Well, it kind of irks me when foreign nationals, especially, come to this country and they're accepted, and yet still they still form these little cliques, and it's like they don't want nothing to do with the Caymanian. We are the ones who made it possible for them to be here.
But I think too, when we look at that, and we ourselves,
Mark, I'm not anti-foreign.
No. That should not be interpreted that way at all. Hopefully nobody, misinterprets what you're sharing. But us who live and call this home need to have a greater sense of appreciation for what it is, a greater willingness to sacrifice, just like our fathers, our seafaring, fathers did, and that life wasn't easy.
It wasn't. Even myself, I mean, before we went to Jamaica to live, my parents, I give them all the credit for doing that because it wasn't our thought. But we didn't get electricity in Cayman Brac until 1959. I was 11 years old. I was in Jamaica a year then when we got, it's... I used to say to my children, I think I've said this before, I never flushed a toilet until I was 10 years old when I went to Jamaica. And they said, well, Dad, what you used to do? Of course, I had to tell them what I used to do.
but I think that's where, unfortunately, a lot of people, Caymanians included, don't understand that even, but there's Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, but on the Grand Cayman, that not just when electricity came, air conditioning, when telephone service, and all these things that we may have been, for those of us who travel or who had family overseas, whether it was in the US or whether it was in other places, there were things that were, every day there. But even then, they're not the same as they're now. And 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it may not seem like a long time.
When I came to this country to live, my house that I live in now is 44 years old. And I have no reason to build another one. Plus, I couldn't afford it now anyhow. But I've watched progress and I've grown with the progress. A lot of people haven't,
But I think it comes back to a country searching for itself, and I'm reminded that, and I see the value in it if it's not one that's going to take its toll on us and we forget to interact. But this whole idea of social media, which I find to be kind of strange terminology, but there's an old Cayman Facebook page, a lot of pictures there of things, right? And so many of us look at it and we reminisce. Sometimes I didn't know that. We actually can be reminded.
I remember when I'm a past president of the Lions, but before I became president, I was the social services chairman. And the social services department of government asked us to go and look at this lady's house in Gun Bay. That is about, I've been a president there now for 32 years, let's say 35 years ago. And this lady had sand as her floor and crocus sack as the window and the doors. So we've come a long way, man. Yeah,
we have.
We just have to remember where we come from.
That's it.
Don't shut the door on the past. Just live in the day.
Right, and be willing to help others. Mr. Denniston, we have a caller as we go to our phones. Why not? Okay. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. It's me again, brother. I had to talk to the president.
Yes, sir. He called on you.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you guys are talking about stuff like you are today because
tonight you live in the future now, Rupert.
He's in north. He's up north, so there's a time difference.
Do what you say?
No, you said night, so I say you. Dwayne said you're up north, so it's time difference.
Oh. Yeah, but I was thinking about the things or semen and all that, and I thought some years ago when we were talking about getting heroes and stuff like that, and when the legislature somebody talking about it would make people heroes. And one name keeps coming back to me because neither one of them that's in there ever done what Mr. Andrew Powery did, This was a man back in the day when we used to go to Mosquito Key to get turtle and stuff like that in a hurricane. Everybody thought everybody was dead over there. Nobody knew what had happened to it. But Mr. Andrew Powery was a man that swam miles across the thing to get to a place where he could tell everybody that the guys were out on this key.
Stranded.
And I suggested way back when he should be one of those heroes.
Well, you weren't talking to the right people, obviously.
Well, you see, the thing is that this is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that other people shouldn't get it, but if there was a hero in Cayman after saving, a lot of lives because of what he did, and he's not there. They don't see any statue of him. You know,
we talked about that earlier. You know, the present, well, not even so much the present government, but the present one going right back for 20 years, 25 years. I think, and we spoke about this, myself and Dwayne, they are not concerned about Caymanians. They're in the world out there, you know, and they don't think about where we're coming from. And as I had to correct, I won't call no names, the reason why foreign people, whether it be West Indians or other Europeans or Americans, they come here and enjoy what the Caymanian people of olden days prepared for them. And I think it's just, I pulled over, this lady was calling me, I said, let me tell you something, lady, you and the people like you who are enjoying this thing is people like us, Cayman seafarers, who paved the way for you to come and enjoy this. So remember that, please.
Yeah. And you know something too, Mr. President, that I would like to say here, is that I say that somebody like Mr. Southwell, who came here and recruited all of these Caymanians, because otherwise they probably wouldn't have had that opportunity, and how a lot of us that were out there with a third or fourth standard education, most of them didn't get to standard 6. And they went out there, and because of the quality of the teaching that they had from those teachers that insisted that we learn what we were taught, and they went out there and they were good enough that they could go and read and write and take the test to become captains, chief engineers, chief mates, everything you could think about on them ships.
Yeah, but at one stage of the game, I think it's still good. The Cayman Islands, including my hometown of Cayman Brac, we had the most per capita captains in the world. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. And my dad was one of them. He was the eldest of 7 children, and he had to leave school and go help grandfather and grandmother prepare for the rest. But yet still he went out there and he studied while raising us as a family, and he became a captain. Yeah, and I think too, we should have a monument for someone like that. Make them honorary Caymanians, like Southwell or somebody like that. Because I mean, when you go back and you think, okay, man, I'm old enough to have remembered, and you were talking about the first time you flushed the toilet and all that kind of thing. I remember growing up, when you 7, 8 years, everybody went down the bush. They didn't even have back houses then. Let's not go there, Mr. Rupert. No, but I'm just saying. It's true. Because, the children nowadays, I mean, if they don't have a phone, then, Daddy, you're not going to buy me a phone? So, and children have phones now at age 6. Yeah. You got to teach them. That life isn't everything you see today. Yeah. Because your grandparents and your great-grandparents imagine the mosquitoes alone. Yeah. Well, there was no aftershave lotion in them days. It was strictly a smoke pan. Listen, Rupert, it's good to talk to you, but I hope that you'll be in attendance on Wednesday to Mr. Long's funeral. Yeah. So we'll talk there. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, thanks very much, sir. And enjoy your afternoon. So, Mr. Denson, if I could ask you maybe once again to remind, it's not just for seafarers, but to anyone.
Yeah, anyone, including seafarers. The school bus, Jernat school bus, Jerry Wood, he is off the island, but he consented to. Well, he brings the guys to the seafarers meeting anyhow. East and North Side, it starts at the Chisholm store in North Side at 11. Then they go on through the Queens Highway to East End proper. And I think most people will probably congregate at the primary school there. Then it comes on down, and anybody on the way, mainly at Lorna's Station. And then to First Baptist, Cayman Island Baptist Church on Peter Castle Road. and they want us to be seated at 12:30. Georgetown, behind the old library. The bus is there from 11:30 in the morning. Webster's Tours, they go the same route to Peter Castle. And then West Bay, Bobo's bus, the dollar bus. I'm saying it because he told me to say that.
That's what, yeah.
He leaves town at 10:30. He should be in West Bay by 11, and then he'll do the same, go to Peter Castle. And all buses will take you back wherever they picked you up after the funeral and the reception at Peter Castle. And I'd like to publicly say how grateful me and the seafarers are to Ellard, Bobo, Miles, Dr. Kenrick Webster at Webster Tours, Jerry Wood, and Tab Welcome for providing these transportations for us.
And again, to you and the seafarers, Mr. Denison, thanks very much for all you've done, man.
Thank you too for having us, and I'll be back.
I hope that you accept the invitation to come as you can. The next meeting for the seafarers
on the 20th of this month.
20th this month, next Tuesday. All right.
Yep.
Next Tuesday.
And then, of course, the social September the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
The governor will be there, man, and he told me that his wife loves to dance, so I'm looking forward to that. J.R. Douglas will be playing.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of food from Island Taste. We're going to do the catering, so look forward to seeing them.
All right, sir.
Thanks again, and God bless you.
Amen. And blessings to you, man. May the good Lord shine on us. His countenance, His counsel, His wisdom, His grace, and His mercy be with us, my friend.
Amen.
All right.
Thanks.
To our listeners, thank you so much. Continue to be a great service and cheer in our country, and recognize that there are some of us who, despite an attempt to be, jovial, we're in a heavy heart, but let's be in prayer with and for them. Come back tomorrow for the buzz. Stay tuned for Talk Today right after the midday news. Discussion with CIFA is on the table. The HSA is also scheduled. Until then, be blessed.